Jeff, the Freddie Freeman scenario that is unfolding here in Los Angeles is intriguing. I mean, the guy is contributing. The guy is producing like Freddie Freeman. We expect him to be. But the emotional moment in Atlanta, the letting go of his agents, the quote from Clayton Kershaw saying that I hope we're not second fiddle.
Right.
It appears that a page has not been turned by Freddie Freeman yet. Let's get into it. What can you tell me about the Freeman negotiations between the Braves and his team when he was a free agent that is still festering in your estimation?
I think when it comes down to it, Freddie Freeman has said this. He wanted to be back in Atlanta. And this turned out to be a very cutthroat negotiation where Freddie Freeman's side wanted a certain number of years and a certain amount of dollars, and the Braves essentially said, we're not going to do that, and went out and traded for Matt Olson. Like, the Braves were ready to turn the page, I think, before Freddie Freeman was. And in free agency for him, for a lot of guys, it's Valhalla. Like, I'm going out there. I get to chart the course of my career and my life. I get to pick one of 30, and there's great power in that. But there is also great responsibility. And the responsibility in this situation goes beyond the baseball stuff. It dovetails directly with your life and with what makes you happy. And I think Freddie Freeman probably didn't recognize in the moment what was going to make him happiest and prioritize that and make sure to say to his agent, this is what I want to do. Dollars are not the most important thing to me. I want to be where I want to be. And where he wanted to be was Atlanta, and where he is Los Angeles. But I also think that this is the sort of thing where a few years down the road, we're just going to look at it like, hey, this was his moment of closure. This was the time where the emotion got out, and where I appreciated, frankly, the way he spoke his truth and was willing to be a human being publicly and say things that you're not supposed to say. But to me, it's a lot different if he is not producing. I think the fact that he's been as good as he's been, that he's hitting 300, the on-base is almost 400, that the slugging is almost 500, it's a classic Freddie Freeman season. And there are a lot of faults that are forgiven if you're out there producing. So what Clayton Kershaw said, it's understandable. Like, I totally get it. But at the same time, I wonder if this past weekend is going to, in the long run, be seen as the time of closure, where he, to steal a cliche, he became a Dodger.
Well, the question I have is why would this be the moment where he changes representation? Is it possible he found out something he was unfamiliar with about his negotiations this past week in a tunnel, a hallway, an office, a moment, a phone call, being back in Atlanta? Is that possible?
I mean,
Jeff?
I suppose it's possible. I think he probably knows the course of how things went, though, at this point, and sometimes it takes time to process this sort of thing. I mean, the rumor throughout the industry was that he had fired his agents. He came out publicly and said he's still working through things with them.
Okay.
Buster only reported that he's listed as self-represented at this point. And frankly, it's all inside baseball and kind of drama. And I don't know that agent goings on are really all that material, frankly, to the general public. This is just one of those things where it's car crash and people are rubbernecking to try and understand what exactly happened, when what happened is it's done. It's in the past. It's buried. And Freddie Freeman took a pen, put it in his hand, and signed on a line that said 6 years and $160 million with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
No, and I know that, Jeff Passan. The two things that I'm just fascinated by, and then the other one I'm concerned. The fascinating one is, we've all been in negotiations. You have for your job. I have multiple times, and and I just know that you'll get at some point a last and best from your employer, with the message of, we love you, this is it. and if you come back and you push and say, well, this is mine, then that's the end of that. I learned that the hard way with ESPN in 2003. And I have used that as a frame of reference every single time I've been involved in a negotiation.
Yeah.
Did that not happen? Did Freeman think it was still possible to accept a Braves offer and then found out Matt Olson was coming? Is that literally what happened? Because that's the way I'm reading it.
There are enough stories bouncing around, enough versions of it, that I honestly don't know what the actual truth is here.
Mm-hmm.
There are some who believe he wasn't told specifically what the offers were. I have a difficult time believing that, because if that's the case, then either someone is blatantly just not doing his job, or more likely you're not asking the right questions. Like there needs to be some agency, no pun intended, in this process, right? Like if you are the free agent, certainly you're giving the duty to the agent to go out and negotiate on your behalf, but you need to be involved. This is your life. You need to know everything that's going on to demand knowing everything that's going on. And I think that, Freddie Freeman has been with his agency for the entirety of his career, and that trust was there, and one just hopes that trust isn't breached in a situation like that.
Well, and again, the reason why you call it inside baseball is you and I are having a conversation about a player and an agent, and that really doesn't mean much to the common fan or any fan or the uncommon fan, what have you. But what does is that even though Freeman is producing on the field in a manner that he's gotten us accustomed to, and that the Dodgers were buying, that Clayton Kershaw still felt the need to say, I hope we're not second fiddle. And that's the thing, right? That's the thing.
Clayton Kershaw doesn't just say things.
Exactly, right? I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I think that there represented the nicest way possible to say, hey, for all of this love you're giving the Braves, we understand it. Clayton Kershaw, a guy who has spent his entire career with the same team, certainly is in a position to understand it. But at the same time, okay, it's done. We're almost halfway through this first season. You got everything out you needed to get out. Now let's move on and go win a ring.